I don't normally do anime reviews, and it's not something I really want to do more of either, but I do enjoy the occasional show. And last year, I had a lot of people mentioning Ruri Rocks to me. It's a slice-of-life anime that follows the high schooler Ruri through the exploration of her interest in gems. She befriends some college graduate students who encourage her to actually learn the science behind the gems and crystals she is interested in. This is done through a mix of both field observation and lab work. It also has the alternate title of Introduction to Mineralogy. As a geologist myself, I was interested in how would the creators portray this? How accurate would it be? How much depth would they go into? And everybody's biggest fear when watching a show about something they know a lot about, what did they get wrong? So with that in mind, I decided to watch and do a little critique. In the first episode, the characters are shown using rock hammers and chisels without any eye protection, so that's 100% accurate so far. Geologists are not always the most safety-oriented in the field. Little jokes aside, after the first episode, my notes were more, oh, that's cool, I didn't think they would add that, and wow, that's actually how you do that in real life. And the things they got wrong were mostly minor nitpicks, and some were probably just translation errors. I went on to watch the rest of the season, and that held up throughout. There are a few scenes that stretch reality to make something more impressive for the show, but they weren't necessarily impossible. And I can say that if you want to watch Ruri Rocks, you can know that everything in the first season is very accurate. And there are only a few moments where your friends will walk in on you watching a very serious geology anime. The show does explore a lot of topics in geology that I haven't covered before, and they are interesting to talk about. So if you are concerned about spoilers here, the show is more about character development and scientific knowledge gained, not big plot points. But there will be some spoilers for locations and topics. And instead of a more normal review, I'm going to talk a bit more about the premise of the show and then give 10 nice things about season 1 of Ruri Rocks. The show opens with Ruri wanting to buy this crystal pendant necklace, which in itself is interesting in a few ways because the crystal that is shown is not a fully natural crystal. Euhedral quartz crystals, ones where you can actually see the external shape, are always tapered in some way, and the tip faces don't all meet up at the same point. There are these little offsets, so the pendant they show is cut and polished to make it this way. This is what you see in some rock shops and online sellers, even if they're sold as natural. It's not stated in the show, but I think this was intentional because later in the same episode, quartz crystals are drawn correctly. Ruri is inexperienced, and because of that, something that I see as cheap and manufactured, she sees as impressive. This is a personal taste thing. It does take more effort to cut and polish this, but I just prefer natural stone over cut ones. Either way, she doesn't have the money to buy it, so she begs her mom, who doesn't give her the money, but does suggest that she just go look for her own crystals. So Ruri sets out to hike through a mountain, gets scared, and runs into Nagi, a grad student that's studying geology. Ruri is initially reluctant to say that she is trying to find crystals because she is either embarrassed about not knowing what she's doing, or because having an interest in rocks is sometimes considered childish. More on this later. But she does confide in Nagi, who is a competent field geologist. They quickly find some quartz, and we get our first little geology lesson. This one's on pegmatite and druze, and the show regularly uses these simplified drawings to explain the concepts for that episode. Ruri is impressed with Nagi and asks her to teach her the ways so she can find more types of gems. The first episode closes with Ruri begging her mom for money again, but this time it's for a rock hammer. Each episode is structured around some geologic technique, rock, or gem, and it does have a bigger arc that Ruri is chasing after a specific type of gem. So with the premise out of the way, let's get on to the nice things about the show. Number 1, attention to detail. Science is all about the details, and the show delivers. In episode 4, Ruri is trying to find the source of some sapphires. She is sampling along branches of a stream and seeing which still has traces of sapphire. She is using the microscope in Nagi's office, and it's not just a generic microscope. It's an Olympus model SX61, a real stereo microscope. The grains of sand they show are fragments of minerals, and I could guess what they actually were from their color and shape. When Nagi was first introduced, her rock hammer isn't just any hammer, it's an Estwing, which for some reason this brand has become the sort of standard manufacturer of geology hammers, and they're actually made in Rockford, Illinois, near where I live, and I have too many of them. It's funny that they even include the always use eye protection text, but then they don't actually use it. Nagi also has this big rock-busting warhammer, which I don't have, but I do want. This attention to detail continues throughout the series. Whenever the characters are using something, it's usually not just something generic. Also, I can confirm that this is what most geology grad student offices look like. Number 2, tedium and hard work. I can really relate to Ruri when she is using that microscope to sort the grains of sand. As someone who has done hundreds of hours of microscope work, it's rough. You are sitting immobile but need to have a pretty good focus on what you are doing and keeping that up for hours at a time. It's monotonous, it hurts your back, your eyes, but there is also a cathartic enjoyment that comes from it, almost like meditation. After a long session and you have counted and sorted or identified whatever you are looking for, and you look back at your notes and all of your data, which might help you solve the problem you are working on, it's great. Microscope work is a little bit like grinding out levels in a game. Number 3, the scientific process. Each episode has some problem or topic, and the characters have to apply some critical thinking to solve or learn about it. Usually, this is done with gentle encouragement from Nagi to get Ruri to come up with ideas and nudge her in the right direction, or just try to figure something out themselves. In episode 4, Ruri shows that she can think for herself. While looking through the sand, still trying to find sapphires, she wants to find a way to reduce the amount of sand she has to look through. She noticed a decent amount of magnetite and realizes that maybe she can use magnets to remove those grains and concentrate the rest. She tests it and it works, cutting down the total number of grains she needs to look at. It's just nice to have a show that demonstrates that thinking and problem solving actually has value. In real life, geologists use all sorts of methods, including magnets, sieves, acids, bases, and heavy liquids to purify sediments for analysis. Number 4, appreciation of the natural world. Many of the episodes take place outside as well. The characters go to specific locations and hike through the woods and up mountains. It does a good job conveying that the journey has value and the level of connectedness you get from being out in nature. Geology is often portrayed as almost in opposition to nature, and it's not. There are aspects of the economic side that are disruptive, but so is nearly anything society does. And there are definitely ethical issues to deal with for mining. Geology also deals with drinking water, renewable energy, soils, and ecology, but doing fieldwork and spending time outdoors is a very rewarding experience. Number 5, Nagi's restraint. This pairs a bit with the previous item, and Nagi is the counter to Ruri in many things in the show. Something I see with many new geologists is the desire to collect a lot of rocks. In episode 9, they find this exaggerated opal deposit, and while Ruri is filling her bag and no real idea what she will do with them besides just having them, Nagi only has a few in a bottle. There is nothing wrong with collecting responsibly and in legal areas, but after you've been in the industry for a while, you just sort of appreciate them where they are. The natural progression of rocks that geologists do pick up is usually some of the ones that made it into your backpack get left by the car. Some make it back home but get left outside. Some make it all the way indoors to a desk or a shelf, but then eventually some make it back outside again.
I release you.
Number 6. Not everything is online. In episode 3, they find a treasure map. Well, it's actually an old topographic map with a mine labeled on it, but that mine is missing in modern maps. So they go on an adventure to see if they can find it. Not all information is online, and even when it is, search algorithms have gotten worse and worse over time. Especially if you want to be very specific about something that is not common knowledge, specifically in the sciences. In the great information age, it's very easy to think that all the knowledge you could ever need is just a search away, but sometimes it's buried under a pile in someone's office. And side note, one complaint I have with the show is that they don't talk about or show a single geologic map in the entire season. They are shown using a variety of maps and notes, and they might not have fine detailed geology maps for the areas, but rough geologic maps exist for the entire Earth, and they are a great place to start. Number 7. This shirt. I like its simplicity, and I tried to find one like it, and when I watched the show, I couldn't find anything, so I made my own. If anybody else is an enjoyer of quartz, I put it up in my store. There is no nice branding on it, it is just a simple shirt proclaiming the existence of SiO2. Number 8. Franklin Mine. In episode 8, the crew comes across an old factory where they discover some crystal growth in the pipes. This is one of those unrealistic or maybe exaggerated moments in the show, but the crystals are zincite. While they were talking, in my inner, oh, I know something about that mineral, was going off, and then they actually mentioned it. Zincite is very, very rare, and Franklin Mine in New Jersey is one of the only places it's been found in nature. Not only that, but Franklin Mine is a very unique deposit for many things. More than 350 minerals have been found there. 50 of those were first discovered there, and about a dozen have been found nowhere else on Earth. The crystals in the show happen to be the result of an industrial process, but it was just a cool thing that I never thought I'd see in an anime. Number 9. Rocks are for kids. In episode 7, one of Ruri's classmates, Shoko, is shown as a child being excited about her rock collection. Nobody else is impressed, and later her parents are heard saying that geology is not something that she should do as a profession. For some reason, liking rocks is considered childish. Nearly every kid likes rocks at some point, and they are told not to pick them up, or they become relegated to just something pretty to collect. Maybe this is because adults and most teachers don't have a good base of knowledge in earth science, but everything we make, drink, or grow comes from the earth. Earth scientists are not just academics, we have very important jobs in many industries. Try making an electric car without a copper mine. Know the correct fertilizer without soil analysis. Or building a dam without understanding the rocks you're building it on. Geologists sometimes call it a found science because very rarely do people go to college to become a geologist. They take some intro class to get lab credits and rediscover that interest they lost years ago. There is nothing silly about liking rocks. We live on them and live off of them. In the show, Shoko eventually confesses her love of minerals and decides to pursue the career. Number 10. Female representation. This might be odd since the anime does feature a lot of fan service. I guess rocks alone aren't enough to get boys to watch a geology anime. Despite the director's specific choice of camera angles, the cast are shown being smart, intelligent, and competent. There is nothing overt in the show about girls get it done or that girls are better than boys. It just shows women being competent in a profession. There's never a scene where they get lost in the woods and they need help, or assistance changing a car tire, or can't figure out a research question. The STEM sciences have been a male-dominated field for a very long time, and geology is no exception. I can say that in my time working in academia, geology at least has had a pretty even mix of students, and many of the more active students in clubs and outreach events have been women. If I had to give one schist thing about the show, it's that Ruri acts more like a middle schooler than someone in high school. This is just sort of an anime thing, and maybe it just stands out more in a slice of life anime about a topic that I have a lot of experience in. They don't have a cute little mascot to play off the more serious character, so Ruri gets that role. And if they made her a middle schooler, that probably would have made hiking through the woods with young adults a bit strange. At least the show doesn't sexualize Ruri, and beyond the oddly specific camera angles, really none of the other characters are either. So to wrap it up, I'll say that I recommend the show. It's fun for someone who knows what they're talking about, and I think the topics are taught in an approachable way if you don't. If you have seen it, let me know what you thought about it. I think the manga it's from is still going, so maybe they will eventually do a season 2. The first season does end with an adult Ruri gazing up at a vein filled with crystals, so it seems that she decides to follow her heart as well. The anime's been out for a few months already, so I'm a little late in getting this out, but hey, most of my content is about a game that came out 15 years ago, so this is actually pretty quick. I wrote most of these notes when the anime came out, and I had planned on making it then, but winter break ended and I got busy with other projects. The anime did stay in my head, and since I didn't need to build a bunch of animations for this, I dusted off these notes and decided to make it with the help of an editor. I hope you found it interesting, and I have more Minecraft geology and color theory coming soon. And until then, I hope you have a nice day.